Welcome to the first episode of 2023 of the Area 312 Rock and Metal podcast. I'm Rex with my friend.
Hey, I'm Kent.
And today, folks, we are blessed to have with us Les and Joyce Carlsen discussing Les's new solo album entitled He's Coming. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Awesome. Good to be here.
Les, if I could ask, what are some of the reasons or circumstances with doing the solo album? Have you been planning that for a while, or what kind of led to that?
Well, actually, we were planning a Bloodgood album next, and then when Michael had his stroke, and we knew that he wasn't going to be able to play for several months, then I thought, you know what, I should probably do a solo album now and just stay busy. And that's how I deal with things. I just stay busy.
Okay.
And yeah, so.
Mr. Les, on that note, really quick, with regard to your solo album, and the last time that you and Miss Joyce actually that we had spoke with you on our vodcast, it was October the 16th of 2021, and you were making mention of beginning to start in with the new Bloodgood album. Since you brought this up, I just wanted to ask, with regard to He's Coming in the songs, were any of those songs maybe initially intended for the next Bloodgood album, or were they coming from a completely different direction altogether for this album?
Yeah, well, they were songs that I wrote,
Right.
And we were at that place where we were submitting songs to everybody in the Bloodgood camp and to David Safiro, the producer and stuff. So there were a few things that we really thought was going to get on there, and I would say that would be the Jesus Freak Show, I Want to Know You.
He's coming.
No, He's Coming was questionable.
Yeah,
That wasn't
true.
necessarily going to be on there. Scars wasn't necessarily going to be on there.
Judas.
Yeah, Judas. Yeah, Judas, because I had done that with Oz, and yeah, so that was definitely, and that was kind of like the theatrical direction. But see, that's my contribution to Bloodgood. That's what I bring to the camp. I bring that theatrical stuff. So
Sure.
Sure.
it's only right that it ends up on my solo project, I guess, based on the circumstances, as sad as they are.
Yes, sir.
You did a Kickstarter campaign for the album, Les, and it actually did very well and was funded at 160% of its goal. What kind of expectations, if any, did you have with doing the Kickstarter campaign, and what were you hoping for with that?
We were hoping for enough to pull off the project.
Yeah, it exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
Really.
it went higher than what we had asked for.
However,
Yes. However, yeah, go ahead.
we didn't ask for enough.
Yeah, we should have asked for more, but that's it was just a kind of a hard time, because we didn't want to get out in front of the give, send, go for Michael. So we're trying to be very cool and kind of stay back and be respectful.
Yeah, we actually
So we didn't
promote the Kickstarter on the Bloodgood Facebook page, or the 30-some thousand fans that follow Bloodgood. We didn't tap into that well. We wanted to reserve that for Michael's fundraiser, and so we just
Yeah.
went out on
So that's that. I mean, it's you do what you got to do. Yeah, in those times such as this, like that's what you got to do. But hey, it turned out really good, and I'm glad that we just didn't stop and wait.
Right.
Because now we're rolling and we're bringing the gospel, and that's what we want to do.
And I want to jump in here on Les's behalf and just say that right from the beginning, when we found out that Michael was going to need some recovery time and would be out of the picture for a while, we were all hopeful that he was going to recover completely. But in the meantime, what audiences are like, and what you have to keep the fire burning. You can't let those embers go out. So doing a solo project and doing the BMI concert, these were ways of keeping Bloodgood alive in hopes that the car is still rolling, and as soon as
Yeah.
Michael's ready to jump in again, we're
Yeah.
off.
That was kind of what we were thinking. So
So how long did you work on that album, the whole entire process? How long did that take from start to finish, roughly?
well, it took a couple of years at least.
Well,
When we had the pandemic, I mean, River actually started River probably 4 years ago.
Okay.
yeah,
And just kind of set it, in there. There was a lot of things that happened during the pandemic where I was left to just play my guitar and not leave the house. And Joyce got into engineering and I got into playing. And so we used that time as so that it would not be wasted.
yeah. So in 2020, during the pandemic, we went to Oz's in Vegas, and Les worked on Judas. So Les has just been really prolific. God has just poured out this, creativity on him. And so I jumped on to go, well, we got to capture this stuff. So really, if you start with River, and then probably He's Coming and Judas is Dead, and then the other songs followed, it's been a progression, but everything was in pretty raw form until after Michael's stroke, and Les decided, I'm going to move forward and keep the fire burning. Then it was just, all hands on deck and make it happen, because basically he'd never done a solo project before. So he had to kind of rebrand himself separate from Bloodgood. And I mean, everything was from scratch: artwork, logo, all that stuff.
Writing is lacking and never profound. There's another way to say what's inside of a beautiful mind before it goes dry.
I have a question, Miss Joyce, with that regard. You said something with the engineering. I noticed in the notes that engineering is you're accredited with engineering, and I was just wondering what you did in that regard with this, with the album.
I just had cards printed that said I'm an engineer.
No.
What she did actually was kind of miraculous. I mean, for her to learn that the DAW system there like that, something as complicated as Logic, and get as proficient as she got. I mean, the guys that played in the studio were just amazed at how she was able to kind of run the sessions. And gosh, I mean, she did so much work. And most people would have spent a lot of their life learning what she did in the last 2 years.
And I have a lot more to learn. For me, I'm basically the cut and paste queen. The guys that do a track and have to punch in a certain place, or we'd get the track home and listen and go, you know what, this guitar part would sound kind of really cool over here. So we'll put it there and just edit a little bit. And arrangement wise, sometimes we'd be listening and would go, I think we need to move the chorus up. And
but ultimately, though, I want to interrupt and say that if the engineer doesn't have the trust of the players, it doesn't move. And I'm telling you, they absolutely trusted her because she was doing a great job. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Sure.
So kudos to you.
Yeah.
Dear.
So the way that it happened is we've got this little home studio right here, and Les would play guitar, play bass, use one of the Apple drummers, the loops to put a beat down. Maybe sometimes we'd MIDI and change some of the rhythms, and he'd do that and then send it off to the guys. And Paul Jackson would make his rhythm fat, and add some texture, and then Craig would come in and then Dan Needham. Once the drums were down, I brought everything to a whole new level. But as each track, so part of engineering was sending the stems to the musicians so that they could lay their tracks, and they'd send back the wave files and I'd bring them in. But things like Les is really the graphic EQ guy, because he ran sound for years and years when he was younger. So he does that and the effects and all that. But
So we're a good team.
yeah,
You all
But
are a good team.
when it came down to the final, and we'd done pretty much everything that we could do, and we did a rough mix, and sent it off, with submixes and stuff, sent it off to Wyatt from
Oates.
Madison Records. He did the final mix, and that was something that we need to go to school for that.
No, we don't. We'll just let him mix it.
Well, Joyce, I noticed that, yeah, you wrote, you sang, you arranged, you produced and engineered the album. I mean, that's pretty impressive for all that, on an album, to do all that. I saw you at Immortal Fest, and I know you have technical abilities. You were doing the lighting and everything there for the Bloodgood show. And so it doesn't really surprise me, you doing all that, but that is awesome that you could do that and do that at a level that it needed to be done. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Again,
We can do all
the
things
glory.
through Christ.
I just showed up.
You guys, I want to say something really quick,
Okay.
Rex, if you don't mind. Mr.
Sure,
Lewis said something
sure.
that reminded me. Of course, an all-star cast on this album. Paul Jackson guitar, David Zafiro guitar on River, the solo that he's coming, Oz, of course, on Judas is Dead, and also your logo. Luke Easter, formerly of
Yeah.
Tourniquet, designed that, right?
Don't forget Craig Church, because he was
Right.
Whoa. Yeah.
Was Craig Mr. Les? Rex and I were talking about that. Was Craig? Was he on the? Was he one of the guitarists on the Out of the Darkness tour?
No, he was in the Rock Theater shows.
Okay.
Yeah, and he worked with Joyce in the early days of Bloodgood, but they never really got a record deal, and they should have. So all these years later, Joyce gets to do a song that she wrote with him back in 86.
88, I think, maybe
Oh,
it was.
88.
Yeah, before Faith was born.
Yeah, and then I talked with Paul about the guitar parts and him and Craig, and they were both so excited because of the differences in style and how they were able to marry those together. Also obviously Oz Fox did Judas is Dead all by himself, and David played the solo in He's Coming, and David played the electric rhythms in River. But man, and then the bass player was Ricky B. Rogers. He used to play with Brian Duncan for many years in the Neo Soul Band. And I wanted to get a rhythm section that was just different than Bloodgood, a different style. That was intentional, so that we would have sort of a different style, because I sound a lot like Bloodgood. And I was trying to change the band sound a bit,
Yeah. So-
just out of respect for
Every tongue, every tribe and nation have played their part in abomination. So many crimes have scarred the lands. Forgiveness comes from nail-scarred hands.
So how did you get Oz and David involved? Did you ask them for ideas? Did they volunteer? Like how did that happen?
Well, with Oz, him and I wrote 3 songs on Dangerously Close.
Mhm.
We become, we're good friends. And
Yeah.
whenever we have some creative things, that wasn't going to be a Stryper song. And so I said, Oz, I really like this. And I listened to that instrumental for a while, and I started getting those lyrics. And then we went to Vegas and developed it even further. But I wrote the lyrics and melody. And it was just, another sort of theatric approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Oz is fun to work with. We just have a blast.
Yeah, and then David was going to produce the Bloodgood record, and in the early days of submitting He's Coming, David really liked it, and Les said, well, you know, put a solo on. And so just,
Yeah, so it kind of, you know, a lot of the orchestration just kind of came together, and it was over our heads, but it comes together pretty good. It sounds like we know what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the credits, and something that really I noticed, maybe a lot of people don't look at this, but Ted Jensen mastered the album. Now, in my opinion, he is one of the top guys for mastering. How were you able to get him to master the album?
You know, it's just you just go and you pay his price, because here's the deal.
which is why I said we didn't ask for enough for the Kickstarter.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We have to put out the best products, and we have to keep up with the world. And a lot of people get to that part of mastering and go, well, this guy can do it for 50 or $100 a song. No, that's not the deal. So this album sounds great on every streaming platform, on every boombox, on every little car stereo, on every big car stereo, because it has been mastered by a master, you know, and it was worth it.
Most definitely.
Honor the Lord.
Most definitely. Joyce, you sing lead vocals on Return Me to the Fire, and you have a wonderful voice. You also, as you said, wrote that with Craig Church. Can you tell us about the song, the history? It sounds like it was written quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was during that time that Craig and I were working together back in the mid 80s. And we wrote a bunch of songs together, and we recorded actually 3 of them with Mark Welling on drums. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, it never went anywhere, and Bloodgood really took off. And so I ended up being in a support role for Bloodgood for all those years. And it was actually a good thing that we didn't get a record deal, because I wouldn't have been able to give Bloodgood the support that was needed. And
Yeah, she was the road manager.
And can I say that?
Go
Can I
ahead.
blow my own horn here?
Sure.
I wrote Anguish and Pain. And when the band was first getting together, they were doing cover songs, and they said they wanted to. No, I mean, and
No,
rehearsing. You rehearsed.
We did one song. Really, I
And
want to
did-
make this accurate.
Okay,
we
all
did
right.
one Dio song just to see if we could play as a band, but we always did original stuff.
Yeah,
However, she did write the lyrics to Anguish.
they
and Pain.
needed something to jam on, so I gave Les the lyrics, and I said, "Here, see what comes of this."
Yeah, and it was a crashing of thunder. You know.
Yeah, and it just yeah,
That's a killer tune.
That's
everything. Yeah.
that is awesome. Well, Les, if I can scoot this up here,
Yeah.
the artwork on this is fantastic, and it definitely complements the album. And if I'm pronouncing the gentleman's name right, Rafael Tavares, did I say it right?
Yeah.
He did the artwork. Can you tell us your thoughts about what you were wanting for the artwork for the album cover on that? Is that what you were looking for?
That was, we were wanting him to bring us something that looked like Jesus coming back. And at the same time, didn't want it to be, that sort of Christian look, wanted it to be more scary and more urgent. And
Yeah.
and I think that he nailed it. I mean, it was breathtaking. Now there were a couple changes that Joyce made that thinned out some of the lightning and stuff, but oh my gosh, to have him make us an album cover like that was a blessing. He's amazing. And then go back to Luke Easter,
Oh yeah.
this logo that Luke did, this was a volunteer, sort of a love gift from Luke Easter. And we love him. He's just amazing, but he had offered some ideas, and this is the one. I mean, it just hit us, and we said, wow, that's great. And it turns out that it just works so wonderfully with everything.
And when we were looking to brand Les, essentially,
It still hurts.
yeah. But first, at first, before this project even we got into it, we prayed for a team. Lord, we need a dream team because it's just us and we don't know what we're doing. And we need a logo, we need art, we need, all this stuff. And Luke offered to throw some ideas out there. And we wanted to have something that was modern, but also had a retro kind of feel because, at our stage, his
'Cause I'm
stage of
retro.
life,
Late
there's all-
20s.
Yeah, I'm retro.
yeah.
Late
What is it? Steve's
29.
excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, Luke came up with this and it was amazing. And he also did the cover of I Want to Know You. We released He's Coming and I Want to Know You with different covers, and a shout out to Scott Waters,
Yeah, who did-
part of the dream team here. He did the cover for the single
and he arranged.
for He's
all that.
Coming. Yeah, and then he did the graphics on everything here. He does
Yeah.
the layout.
Spinning around in my head, turning all night in my sleepless bed. The fragrance fills the room, a broken jar of sweet perfume. Tears on his feet, wiping them dry.
Have y'all thought maybe about an album in the future and more of like a split vocal duty on songs and stuff? Be awesome.
Yeah, we have thought about it, and it's. I think it just depends on the song. I think that we have some ideas that I'm not going to let out yet,
Sure.
but I think there may be some songs that are written specifically for a duet, a powerful metal duet with Les and Joyce, hopefully. And,
Awesome.
and it's one of those things that we'll do a lot of praying about, and we'll get together and get all excited about what God gives us there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I want to say that when Les embarked on this solo project, knowing that he had a fan base that were Bloodgood followers, that he needed to make sure that there was enough relatability there to not lose the Bloodgood fan base, but still be able to now start moving into maybe a different chapter and a different season. And I think throwing duet stuff out there too soon, it just needs to be done carefully.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
The fact that he, allowed me to
Allowed.
allowed me to do a solo. I mean, that's a stretch right there, and we're blessed that the fans have received it well.
Yeah, they've embraced it. Excuse me, but you notice that there's a lot more women in metal these days.
Yes.
So I think, again, like when I talked to the guy that mixed our album, he's younger than us, and I've been around, Joyce and I've been around for a while, and I told him, I said, listen, I'm set in my ways. I know a lot of things. I'm not set in my ways because I'm going to say this to you. I want you to bring to us what you know is hip today. And I want you to take the approach that you feel like you should take, because I don't want to sound dated. And he loved it, and so he did some of those things. And then we came back around and we added, and so he learned a little bit from us, and we learned a whole lot from him. And the relationship with Wyatt Oates is really, really cool. So,
and can I jump in and just comment again about Les and I doing a duet? If you watch the Trenches of Rock video, you can see the history of where we started. Before we were saved, we were nightclub singers, and we fronted the band together and did a lot of duets and both of us. So it maybe,
circle.
maybe someday that will come full circle to that. So
Great. Well, some of my favorite songs from the album are I Want to Know You, Faith is Tested, River, and Return Me to the Fire. And I hate to ask this, but do you guys have a favorite song or a song that's special to you? I know it's kind of like picking your favorite child, but I didn't know if there's a song that you guys really like for a special reason or something on the album.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I love all the songs because they're, I was involved in all of them. But I would say that River literally takes me on an emotional ride. And because it's deep. It's about my granddaughter, our granddaughter's named River. And when she was born, there was some complications and she ended up in the ICU. So we were all praying real hard. And as I was writing this song, I started thinking, wow, this reminds me of, the river of God that flows through us, and to go and sit by a river and bare your soul to him, he'll listen. And so I had plenty to pray about in regards to River. And then the actual chord changes that I used apparently are quite complex. And I didn't realize that until the guitar players told me, how did you do that? How did you write this song? And I said, well, I just played by my heart and my ear, and I made these chord changes and these half tones, and there's a few modulations in there. I mean, it's just like, so I got all these kudos. I mean, obviously I know that this was a miracle from God. It was a gift. But then when the drums were added, and oh my gosh, just the feel of everything in it, it's like a roller coaster ride. Even the solos, like when Craig Church comes in, it's like this rapid water rushing, and then it subsides, and then it builds again, and then here comes Paul Jackson, orchestrated guitar. Oh my gosh, it just really does something. And then that little tag on the end, every river that flows to the sea from the top of the mountain through the center of me, what will be, river, you inspire me. Mm-hmm. That was written at the very end of, just before we sent it to be mixed.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just sort of a last minute add-on.
River, you inspire me. River, you inspire me. Wherever you go, you'll always flow. River, you inspire me.
I like the big choruses. I Want to Know You and Faith is Tested. They're a little bit more accessible, I think. I love the big choruses, and those were Jackson and Carlsen songs. I Want to Know You really less. It actually started out being a song called Break Outside, and he laid the guitar down, and I mean, it could have just stayed right there. It was awesome. But then Jackson came in and added stuff. But the lyrics, like Faith is Tested at the end, just the fills were less, that doesn't, open up my eyes. I want to see the face of God. I want to see the face of God. And those things touch me. Scars is, I love Scars. That could be my favorite. The slow section where Les just basically spontaneously sang without writing, just said, my hands are still engraved with my love for you. Mm-hmm. How could I say it? How could I love you more? I mean, that's just really impactful, really impactful. Mm-hmm. The hands that created the stars still have scars. Yeah. And then a song that hasn't gotten a lot of attention is How Long, which is really a plaintive, and it really came out of a lot of pain that Les in particular was going through this whole process. And the middle section there again was something that Les just kind of jammed, but give your pain to me, my burden is light. I don't know.
That song will grow on people, I think. It's one of those.
It's a dark horse. I think.
It's pretty cool though. It was one of my favorites, and I love to sing it live.
Well, speaking of that, you played quite a bit of these songs at last year's Immortal Fest. Have you guys thought about what songs you're gonna play for next year's set list? Maybe you don't want to give anything away. Do you have any ideas of what you're thinking about or any surprises? Of course, we don't want to give a surprise away, but
I think, obviously we have this new album, so people will have heard it. Now, when we played last year, they had never really heard the songs. And I still felt that they came across pretty good. Even though we were it was a bit scary because we never really played them a lot. And it turned out really well. And the reaction to them was really good. So I think that when people get familiar with them, we'll probably do most of the album for sure.
okay.
And then as far as the Bloodgood stuff goes, I'm not sure what we'll do yet because there's so many Bloodgood songs that I wrote that I could do and I could choose to do. So we'll see.
And,
Sure.
and we're also, Les has still a whole bunch of songs, in various stages of development. And we were just talking about it the other day of previewing or introducing at least one new song, possibly two. I mean, it's almost a year away.
From the new album.
Great.
Yeah.
On that note, regarding the songs kind of having been introduced this past year, I saw kind of the newest video to the Jesus Freak show,
Yeah.
which was really fun. And it seemed like people just, Mr. Les, Miss Joyce, I know the people were just happy to see and to love on you guys, and got to see some neat familiar faces, in the video. Shout out to Weapons of God and, Fear Not and Chad Finner and those guys. It just seemed like everybody was just happy to see you guys there and to love on you guys and your crew, So I think what you're saying, absolutely, they'll be familiar and they'll love the songs even more.
Yeah. And, Kent, we both feel like we should lift every Christian rock band up that's actually loving Jesus and doing what they do. We don't need to be exclusive. I have been around so long, it doesn't matter to me about what I'm gaining any ground or anything. I really love to. I mean, this is, this shirt here is Images of Eden. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
Images of Eden. And they're a Christian band from Philadelphia, I think, or somewhere. Anyway, I love them. There's Chaotic, there's White Cross, there's, Disciple. And we need to lift each other up. We don't need to be competing, right? Just bring what God has given us and show the people. And so I love that. It's kind of like being in the family room with God.
Yeah, we're kind of, not kind of, just your words promoted thought, Mr. Les. We're all part of the body of Christ, right?
Amen.
We're not
Yeah,
divided. We're not separated.
that's right.
Heard this before, it's not going away. It gathers momentum every single day. You heard DC talk about being a freak, and the protest gave you a carnival peak. Join the freak show, everybody. Join the freak show, Jesus Freak Show.
Mr. Les, of all the potential album titles in the world that you could have chosen, you chose He's Coming. And it's just an observation on my part. The title, to me, it's a dual-edged sword. He's Coming is a promise to everyone. It's a delight to the sheep. It's a warning to the goats. As far as I recall, since first hearing Bloodgood back in 1986, you guys have always brought that message of Christ. And I'm just curious, of anything that you could have chosen, Mr. Les, what was it about He's Coming that's what was in your heart to go with?
Well, I think that Jesus is, he really has promised to come back. I mean, Isaiah said that there was going to be a baby born of a virgin, and that was 700 years before Jesus. And that happened. And the world is scoffing and saying, well, when's he coming back? He's not coming back. And you go, no. he is coming back. And Jesus said that you can read the signs of the time. So I'm not doomsday or anything like that. I'm just saying he is coming back. He will come back, and he'll do exactly what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to raise from the dead, and he did.
Amen.
I mean, nobody has the power to do that except God, and he's God, and he's coming back. And so I thought, that is the most urgent message that I have at this point in my life.
Yeah, I think on the liner notes, the very first page of the liner notes kind of explains the concept of he's coming. He's coming for his bride. There's a reason for all of this. He created, and then there's this big hiccup and this gigantic semicolon, and then Revelation happens.
Yeah. And what's 2,000 years?
He's building rooms in his house for all of us. That's Hebrew tradition. On the Father's house, you build on rooms and you take your bride to be there. Well, we are the bride of Christ, and he says he's got a lot of rooms for us.
Yeah. It's amazing how he aligned the Jewish traditions to what his prophecies were, that he was rehearsing them over and over and over and hoping that they would see it. And that's the way God is. He's a full economy God. He's going to do what he does, and he's going to bring it in. It's going to happen. And anybody that thinks that that's foolishness, the Bible says that you're perishing. Mm-hmm. If you think that the cross is foolishness, you're actually perishing. And you need to change your heart and your mind. And you can only do that by getting to know Jesus and asking him into your heart.
I was, in thinking about this interview and thinking about your new album and the cover and everything, I remember there was a person at the church that I went to back in college years, and it's the first time that I ever heard a shofar, a ram's horn. Mm-hmm. And it had, in that building, it had this resonation and this reverberation, and we tend to say trumpet in the Western culture, but it's a shofar. And boy, I can only imagine when Gabriel blows that shofar, the shofar of God. Boy, you talk about a sound, goodness.
The voices in my head. Turn condemnation into bread.
Mr. Les, Miss Joyce, in your words, what is the secret for a strong and healthy marriage? How do we strengthen the joys and overcome the hardships and maybe the differences that we can all have as individuals in a marriage for longevity? What is your advice to our viewers and to all of us?
Well, first of all, you have to commit. And I mean, a commitment is a solid commitment, no matter what we struggle through in life. And then secondly is that you, even first, you make your spouse more important than yourself. Marriages fail because you have two individuals that are selfish, and we all need to work on being selfless with each other. And then it just gets better and better and better. It's pretty amazing.
We met in 1970. We got married in 74, and we got saved in 84. So we lived 10 years without the blessing of having the Holy Spirit guide us and counsel us. And but what Les said about the commitment, we both just said, divorce is not an option. Separation is not an option. Whatever happens, we're going to work it out. And we struggled through a lot of things, but we hung in there. But I tell you what, when we had our 10th anniversary, we got baptized. And when we came up from the baptismal, we renewed our vows because it was our 10 years. And from that point on, it just seemed like because of Christ, the relationship, just everything in it snowballed. Because we had that third strand,
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's always put me first and served me and been considerate of my needs. That's what the Bible says for us to do for our brothers, but even more so your spouse. And that just makes me love him even more and want to please him and serve him and put him first, which makes him love me even more. And it's just kind of this snowball
It's a
effect.
back and forth thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, my last question for you guys, what would each of you like to say to your friends and fans out there? To everyone, yeah.
Well, I know this. I know that if you're a believer, understand that you cannot fix yourself. I hear a lot of Christians saying, so, I'm not able to do this and I struggle with this and I do this. And I'm saying, so why you're bringing it up here at a men's group or you're bringing it up in a prayer circle when actually you can never fix yourself. It's only God who can fix you. And he says to come to him. And so, do that first and get fixed by him because he's the one that really knows how to do it. And we really don't know how to do it. It's good to give advice and that's great and to pray for each other. But bottom line is love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And that pretty much sums up the whole deal.
Yeah. I want to express gratitude for the support on this new project and even throughout the years of Bloodgood. And just want to say, for the brothers and sisters out there, this is a tough time and our faith is being tested and challenged and we've got to stay the course.
Yeah.
And so, whatever, press into your pastor, to your community, your church community, to your fellowship, press into the musicians that God has blessed with messages, and not just Les Carlsen and Bloodgood, but all of them out there. And they're all lifting up Jesus, and we put Jesus first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Well, we're going to do something we always do, and we're just kind of giving it a different name. We're calling it Message from Home. And Les, your album is called He's Coming, and you also have a song entitled He's Coming, and you have this scripture in the front of your CD booklet, but this is the one I really like, and it is John chapter 14, verses 1-3. And Jesus is talking here, and he says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God. Believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may also be where I am." So, that's a wonderful promise. And I think we need to remember that also, that in a good way, he is coming back. And so we just want to thank you both for joining us and taking out some time today and talking with us about your album, Les and Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Kent, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to say one thing, Rex, because
Sure.
the last time that Mr. Les and Miss Joyce were on, I was a little bit tongue-tied because I've loved and appreciated Bloodgood since, like I said, 86 when I first heard them. But Mr. Les, you said something to us right before you exited, and you said, "I love you guys." And I was just sitting there looking at you, and I never did say it back. I just want to say, Mr. Les and Miss Joyce, and to all in the Bloodgood family, I love you all. And I say that you all have ministered to me. And I just want to say thank you. And I'm glad the Lord gave me the opportunity to say that back. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
we-
and I love you guys too, as you well know. So
Yes.
too, you guys are wonderful. And yeah, just thank you so much. And if you guys could just hang on here for a second, we're gonna close out here. And thank you everyone for watching, and Happy New Year.
Return me to